Distinguished guests and fellow panelists from abroad, everyone, good morning.
Morning.
Today I'm very pleased to share with you the current supervision framework on the virtual assets in Taiwan and how the development of the virtual assets is reshaping the financial markets. So since I'm a regulator, so I will spend more time on sharing regulatory issues of the crypto assets. This chart shows what the regulator are trying to pursue of different objectives and challenges. As regulators across the world are stepping up their efforts to regulate crypto activities, there are different approaches and paces taken by different jurisdictions. So based on some regulatory framework recommended by international organizations such as FATF, IOSCO, and FSB, regulator, including the FSC, we are trying to gradually bring the virtual asset activities into the regulatory perimeters. So I'm going to mention about a few objectives we have pursued. The first is prevention of illicit finance, combating the money laundering, terrorist financing, fraud, sanction evasions as well. Because virtual assets are often cross-border, and to dominance and operate digitally. So these risks will be magnified on the virtual assets world. The second one is investor protection and financial inclusion to make sure that individuals are safeguarded from fraud and theft. This includes ensuring custody is secure, disclosure are adequate, and that service provider must meet standards of transparency. In addition, virtual assets have emerged as powerful tools can enhance financial inclusion by providing decentralized services with lower cost. The third one is innovation. Because the decentralized finance applicants built on virtual assets platforms may offer new types of financial products or services and also can increase the efficiency. And the fourth is the financial stability, which is a very big issue for the regulators. As virtual assets become more interconnected with traditional finance, such as banks, funds, asset manager, and payment systems, risks arising from size, volatility, and contagion can threaten financial stability. So for the FSC, we try to balance different objectives to regulate virtual assets. I would like to mention that sometimes these objectives have some conflicts. For example, the P2P trading based on the blockchain increase money laundering risks, but it also potentially improve financial inclusion. And strict regulation or legal liability imposed on the virtual assets providers may enhance consumer protection. However, it might restrain the financial innovation. So how to balance all these different goals is a major challenge for the regulators for the past few years. So to regulate or not to regulate, this is a statistics or survey provided by the report from the Cambridge University. So there are still many countries that's taking the wait-and-see approach to encourage financial innovation. But more and more countries are bringing these activities in within their regulatory perimeter, especially for the past year. So according to this study published last December, crypto activities remains unregulated in 43% of jurisdictions surveyed. And crypto activities are banned in the 12.6% of countries, the green one. In these countries, engaging in crypto transaction, mining, ICO, running exchange are prohibited. So in other words, this country try to isolate the sector from traditional finance. For the other 44% countries regulating the VA activities, basically they are regulated based on the anti-money laundering framework or introducing a new comprehensive bespoke regulation such as MiCA. So in short, countries are gradually regulating crypto activities. And these service providers in different way, different paces, but toward the similar direction. So you probably read a lot of the news every day about the crypto or the stable coins, especially for the past few months, especially for the stable coins, which are digital assets pegged to fiat currencies, have become integral to the financial ecosystem. Their growth has prompted regulators worldwide to establish the regulation. So in addition to the MiCA, which I just mentioned earlier, it was adopted in 2023. There are many other countries propose or introduce regulations on stablecoins. Among those regulations, the well-known US Genius Act passed in July this year, which established a comprehensive regulatory framework for the issuance and oversight of payment stablecoins. This slide shows some definition of the stablecoins in these different jurisdictions. Basically, they have similar definition, and they have some general requirements for the issuance, such as the reserve, the redemption, and so on. So Japan also introduced regulation on stablecoins recently, and there was a first regulated stablecoin issuance in Japan, the JPYC. I think Mr. Kito-san will provide more detailed and in-depth explanation on that later on. So these developments indicates a global trend toward a more structured and coordinated regulation of stablecoins. However, I noticed a news last week that the Financial Stability Board warned that there are significant gaps in countries' attempts to regulate these fast-growing crypto markets. While some progress has been made, international implementation and coordination of rules remain too fragmented, inconsistent, and insufficient to address the global nature of crypto asset markets. So let's now take a look at the snapshot of the virtual asset markets in Taiwan. For the past year, 2024, the trading volume is around 6 to 100 billion US dollars, and it's increasing more this year. And number of virtual asset service providers right now is 9 entities provide the related services. Previously, there are 26, but we have a new registration scheme. So right now, only 9 entities or 9 service providers obtain the registration. And among these 9 service providers, the 8 service providers are providing online services, such as trading platforms, exchange and transfer of virtual assets, or pure transfer. And only one is on the brick and mortar basis. And this is the market right now. And I have to mention that starting from this May, we have banned the use of cash to trade the virtual assets because it's exposed in a very high risk of money laundering and other crime. And also, the market share of the virtual assets is majorly dominated by 2 big players, MyCoin and BitoPro. I think globally it's also dominated by few players right now. So we are taking a phased-in approach to regulate this industry or these activities. Let me elaborate this 4-stage specifically. The first one is based on the AML regulation. We amended the Money Laundering Control Act in 2018. So for those who want to provide the virtual asset services, they have to follow similar requirements comparing to traditional financial institutions, such as KYC, record keeping, suspicious transaction reporting. And also, they have to sign up an AML compliance statement before operation. And we, the FSC, are empowered to conduct inspections and request information from those service providers. So after the inspection, several service providers are fined by the FSC. So entering into the phase 2 or stage 2, we want to enhance the self-regulation mechanism. So a VASPA association was established last year, and we issued guidance for VESP in September 2023. So after the establishment of the association, they have issued many self-regulatory standards based on the guidance we issue. So these are the few self-regulatory standards, ML, CFT, information security, and so on. So right now, we are in the third phase of the regulation. So this new registration regime was effective last November. So every service providers want to start operation, they have to complete the registration process. And we will review all the internal control systems and all the procedures and the compliance they provided before we issue approval of the registration. So in terms of corporate governance, internal control, IT, disclosure, this will be under review of the FSC. And also, there will be an enhanced action against the illegal VESPs. So if you are unregistered, you will be subject to a criminal penalty up to 2 years of imprisonment. So under these registration schemes, different service providers are subject to different, we say, proportional supervision requirements. So it depends on whether you are the exchanger, you are a trading platform, or you just conduct only a transfer or custodian. They will be subject to different requirements. These are the general provisions for all VESPs. So basically, you have to comply with laws and regulation, custody of clients' assets, segregation, and you have to have established information system, cybersecurity, because for the past few years, there are some incidents regarding the leakage of personal data or clients' assets have been stolen by third parties. And you have to handle the customer compliant and disclosure and record keeping. These are the basic requirements for all service providers. If you are the virtual asset exchanger, there will be some additional requirements. For example, you have to establish criteria for listing and delisting of these listed virtual assets. And there are still additional disclosure rules for the trading. And you have to take measures to prevent unfair trading and detect abnormal price and volume. So, as our chairperson mentioned this morning, right now we have proposed a bespoke law and submitted to the executive yuan. So, according to this draft, the structure is very similar to MiCA in Europe. So there are different elements under this law. The licensing of virtual asset service providers, potential regulation, which is very similar how we regulate financial institutions. So there are capital adequacy and other requirements, and the governance of the association. Market misconducts, these will be subject to criminal penalty as well, and also investor protections. And the highlight one is stablecoins. So under this bespoke law, there will be some detailed supporting regulations later on, which will be proposed by the FSC. So if you are considering what are we regulating, so we have to make clear that which kind of virtual assets or virtual asset activities we are regulating. So from this chart, you can see that the virtual assets on the left and upside, if it is classified as utility token, NFT, or is fully decentralized, then it's not regulated by the FSC. If it's fully decentralized, there will be no intermediaries, and we can find any agencies to regulate. So, and utility token is also beyond the perimeter of our supervision. So then, if these instruments are regulated by current financial regulations, For example, if this token is classified as securities token, then we are subject to Securities and Exchange Act. If it is classified as deposit, subject to the banking regulation. So it depends on the nature of these products. Then you are subject to existing regulations. For the RWA, which is also a very hard topic, depends on the A. What kind of assets is that? If the A is beyond the supervision of the FSC, for example, like gold, precious metal, then you might not be included in our supervision. And next, for the other virtual assets, if it is pegged to fiat money, then you will be classified as stable coins. For the stable coins, there will be two kinds which I will introduce later on. And the other will be classified as general virtual assets. So this is the how we classify and regulate the different kinds of virtual assets. So speaking of stable coins, I have to mention in this bespoke law, there will be two kinds of stablecoin issuance. The first one is domestic issued stablecoins. So the issuer will have established its entity in Taiwan and got the approval from FSC. But there's another kind of the stablecoin, which is like USDT or USDC, which has been issued overseas, only listed and traded in Taiwan. So this kind there will be different process to review. This is only admission for the listing. This will be under stricter requirements and reviewed by FSC and central bank. So this chart shows where we are now, right now. So, speaking of the virtual assets in the future financial landscape, there are different aspects or dimensions which have been mentioned by many related parties. The first one is the intermediation and decentralization. The second one is there will be some innovation in financial market infrastructure, including stock exchange, custodian institutions, and the major players in these traditional financial markets. There will be increasing financial inclusion, and we have to still keep in mind that the monetary policy and stability risk is still very important for the regulators. And there are other challenges and gaps. I mentioned earlier that different approaches and measures taken by different jurisdictions. But virtual assets is traded worldwide. So how do we to mitigate the risk of this kind of different regulatory philosophy? And it can enhance transaction efficiency, such as the RWA. They can do a so-called simultaneous deliver, so-called atomic DVP target. It also will bring some market volatility and contingent risk, such as 2 weeks ago, there's a plunging incident after the President Trump announced that will be a higher tariff on China. And the virtual asset markets plunged very sharply that day. And there will be more investment opportunities as well. So there are some characteristics of the RWA. They provide more liquidity, it will enhance the decentralized and efficiency and cross-border. So these are some tables provided by global survey on these RWA markets. These are also some numbers of the RWA market. It is increasing, whether it's in global markets or tokenized numbers. This also shows some countries are introducing the RWA in their traditional markets, whether it's in primary market or secondary markets. So that's the how the Taiwan is regulating the virtual assets. Among these important issues, RWA is currently a very important issue we have to deal with. So I think for the following discussion, we will focus on different issues. Some is on the supervision side, some is market development side. So we are looking forward to have later on, you can provide more comments or share us your thoughts. Thank you.